listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner. I hope that we illustrate the doctrine of perfect freedom. I'm with Emily Dean and Steve Hall.
Good morning.
Today. Good morning. You can text our show on 81215. You can follow it on Twitter at Frank on the Radio. Why would you do that?
Oh, when they say follow it, not like Game of Thrones or something.
No, exactly. We don't have a skin cast. Or you can email the show via the Absolute Radio website. I don't want a lot of snakes now texting in saying, well, I have a skin cast on a regular annual basis. Just leave it. Bruce Forsyth is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone missed the news yesterday? I thought I'd throw that in. I just thought I'd let you know. It's always sad when a comic dies, especially a big, famous one like him. I did a gig. I had him on my show, Bruce Forsyth, and one thing I'll always be glad about is me and him did a sketch together.
Fantastic.
Written by me. Obviously, he's not going to write it. He's got people. And what it was is that I'm dressed as a female secretary. We didn't know. It was stereotyping there. So I'm at a desk and a woman comes in and says, I've come to see Mr. Forsyth. He's my uncle. And I say, hold on a minute. So I press the thing. You see him pick the phone up and say yes. And I say, niece to see you, niece. And then he does a fantastic look to camera, of course. So
Fine work.
That's brilliant.
But I'll tell you something about Bruce. I interviewed him on my chat show, and he was really funny. And I said, look, this is often old comics don't really work that well. You know, they want it all written and planned. And he came on, and he did some really good stuff on it. So I used to do the edit, so I edited it and I put in every one of his jokes. There was just one thing. He had some sort of physical strangeness to do with where his kidneys were or something.
Right.
And I got a woman in a spangly leotard. We didn't know then.
Can you just write a book called We Didn't Know?
We didn't know then. Yeah. Me on the cover with my arm round. Complete that sentence at home.
We really didn't know.
And so this woman come on, but she was carrying one of those anatomical statues that show like internal organs, so that Bruce could show us exactly what his problem was.
Oh, like the med school ones, yeah.
And when he came on, he did a line, and it got a good laugh. He got loads of good laughs anyway, but it did get a good laugh. But when we watched it back in the edit, it was the lighting wasn't very good on it, so we couldn't use it.
Sure.
So anyway, the interview went out, and he was funny. It was Bruce joke all the way through. He wrote me a 4-page handwritten letter saying, I can't believe you didn't put that joke in that I did when the woman came on with the leotard. And that was when I knew he is a proper comedian.
That's a kindred spirit.
They're going
right?
about the game shows and stuff, but that is a comedian who would write that letter.
That's the class. I like that. And you do that, Frank. Come
on. Would I? I'd put dog excrement through their letterbox. I'd walk 3 miles to do it. But best of all, I know someone who worked with him, and he had got tiny crib notes, crib sheet.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Tiny little notes written on his thumb.
Wow.
That he was looking at to... this was...
That's amazing.
And when he was doing the interview, so he couldn't really look at the auto cue. And this woman said, God, you must have amazing eyesight, Mr. Forsyth. And he said, I'll give you a tip. He said, I never read a book. Wise words there from the late, great Bruce Forsyth.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Yeah.
By the way, one thing I didn't say about that Bruce Forsyth thing was after the show, after the record, he was there with Will and Elia, and he said, you must come round our house for dinner. I've had such a lovely night tonight. Would you come round for dinner? I said, it'd be an honour to come round for dinner. And after the joke didn't get in the edit.
Nor did the invite come through. Again, respect.
I've got another one. I just remembered. I went to an audience with. I'm sorry about this. It's become a show of showbiz reminiscences.
If ever there was a time to tell a Bruce anecdote, it's
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah.
I went to an audience with Bruce Forsyth, and they said to me, they always did, I don't know if you remember those audience withs, but they always used to say in the green room beforehand, would you ask a question? You say, I don't ask. And they say, go on.
Oh, I always wondered how that worked.
Yeah, it's
then.
not all spontaneous.
No.
Right.
So they'd give you the question as well.
Patronising.
So
I mean, I've been in the business years.
they'd give me the question. They'd always tell you what to ask. So I had to ask, how do you deal with hecklers? Because he'd got a story about a heckle put down that he'd done at the Wood Green Empire in 1954. So I set him up for that. I was happy to do that, giving me a generation game. It was an institution in our house. So I put my hand up and he went, Frank Skinner's there. And I said, I just want to ask you how you deal with hecklers. He said, well, you a fast-talking, quick-thinking comic like you doesn't need to ask me that. And I thought, well, I agree with that. But I can't really. I could have said, well, obviously I've been asked, but I didn't. I let it go at that.
Very, very well
He said, well, I was
contained.
playing the Wood Green Empire in 1954 and there's a rough crowd and someone threw a bag of fish and chips on stage. And I thought, oh, my God, and the audience all... He said, I picked up the fish and chips. I had a chip, went, no vinegar. And nothing. It was complete... That was it.
We didn't give it much.
It went better here than it went there. And it was a terrible moment, and I felt responsible because I asked the question.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, it went all right in 1954. In a real sort of, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I guess it's
Frank.
terrific if he just suddenly revealed that he just absolutely savaged the bloke using every horrendous put down under the sun, and it was completely out of character for both the man and 1954.
Yeah,
but
I'm glad that you have a stereotypical view of 1954. Because we didn't know then.
But I fear for you because I know that's awful. You felt associated with
They
the joke.
always did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
They
I
made
know.
me ask
Did they?
Spike Milligan in a thing.
Can
about,
I be honest? If I had to think an audience with, and there was a word, name someone in the audience, if I was doing Family Fortunes, I would say Frank Skinner. Because I saw you on so many of those things.
No,
Did
I
you do
went-
a Rod Stewart, perhaps?
I did Rod
Yes,
Stewart.
I saw you on that.
Rod, though, see, Rod, I said,
When you say you did, I mean, you turned up to watch a show, essentially.
yeah, but you had to sing for your supper. So, well, Rod did. Remember, Rod had lovely zip-up boots on.
Did you do an audience with Spice Girls?
I didn't do that
I
one.
did.
No.
I didn't ask a question because I'm a normie, but I was there.
No, but with Rod decided he didn't want set-up questions. He wanted proper questions. He could handle it. So Nigel Lithgow was that. Do you remember? We
Nasty
became
Nigel.
A TV,
Yeah.
He
Simon
came up
Cowell
to me
before
and he
Simon
said,
Cowell.
"Will you ask a question?" And I said, "He said,
How many times did you go?
I always
Did you
every
say,
time."
how do you deal with heckles?
And he said, "How do you deal with hackles?" They were always. How
It's
do you
okay,
do-
everyone. Frank Skinner's in tonight. Who's going to ask a question?
Jerry Halliwell, how do you deal with freckles? I
just love this idea of people just still coming up to you in the street saying, will you ask a
I
question?
know. I've got loads. I'll tell you loads of others, but it's not that kind of show. Anyway, so I had to say, I had a thing for Rod Stewart about how do you watch football when you're in America. You know, it's so.
Frank.
But anyway, he said you probably got needy because Rod said he's not going to take questions. He said he's made all the celebrities sit at the back, even though he's very, very nearsighted and he won't wear glasses or lenses.
This isn't a very pleasant review of
No,
him, Frank.
because there was a bit where Bradley Walsh put his hand up and Rod went, "Is that John Travolta?" Well, you can imagine his disappointment. Anyway, so he had members of the public sit at the front. So after he did 2 songs, and he said, "Right, any questions? Any questions from anyone?" This bloke put his hand up and said, "Why don't you make good albums like you used to in the 70s?" That was the last question for about an hour and a half.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a missive from Nugget,
Oh, yes.
and it's to do with last week. if we can go back to last week briefly. And it was a moment where Nugget alleges that Steve experienced a stony ground incident.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it could be one of many.
Do you want me to tell you what it was?
We didn't know then.
Yeah, go on.
Good morning, Frank, DME.
I should explain maybe that Stony Ground was a thing. I did a live panel show on ITV, and every week I'd celebrate the joke that went the worst.
It's called Don't Ask Me, Ask Britain.
Yeah, and this was the jingle that celebrated those failed gags.
Some of them did fall on stony ground.
There you go, it's beautiful.
Is that Stanley Unwin?
It's actually me.
It's Frank.
Yeah.
I thought it was the first,
Stanley
the
Unwin
earliest
didn't.
recorded speech.
Yeah.
And Frank said it was him. I still can't believe it's
That's
him.
what it reminds. We did a radio thing where you played a recording of Florence Nightingale.
Oh, yes, that's
speaking.
right. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
So, put that light out. It was called. Yeah, those ones that go... There's loads of recordings like that. There's all one bloke in 1870 going... So use that. What should we say? Florence Nightingale? Yeah, that'll do. Buffalo Bill. Okay, write it down.
They didn't know. I mean, I feel so sorry. We all listen to these things now. They'd be so mortified.
Have you ever heard my jazz fan who lives next door voice?
No, go on.
Okay, so you're in bed in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Anyway. Come on!
That should be sampled. That should be the
I
Christmas
think what
number
should
one.
be
Sorry, he's
sampled is
talking
Frank.
about I've just holding up a bottle of urine.
Yeah. I think what should be sampled is Frank responding to his own material by saying, come on,
Oh, well.
which I enjoy.
All this stuff about Last of the Great Entertainers in the paper. What about?
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. What about you? Frank, please can I tell you about this Stony Ground incident?
Let's hear it.
Although I have to say, I wouldn't have missed Jazz Fan next door for the world.
Oh, man.
Anyway, Nugget says, last week, early in the show, 11 minutes, 11 seconds,
Wow, 11.
This is Remembrance Saturday.
Yeah.
million voices. Oh, no, that's 7 seconds. 11 minutes, 11 seconds into last week's podcast, as it happens, whilst discussing a shoe you'd found in your garden,
Yes.
you mentioned how Saddam Hussein's statue had been whacked with protesters' flip-flops. Emily said she did that to photos of people she did not like.
Yes.
Correct? I might have said that,
Okay.
if I heard correctly.
This sounds like a policeman in court reading from his notebook.
Steve then said, were you sandalised? Nothing. That genius rejoinder was missed.
I must
If
admit,
that
I
was the
missed-
case,
I
would that
missed
merit the playing of the Stony Ground jingle? I rather miss it. Praise withheld as per your request, Nugget.
Do you want to do it again, Steve?
Were you sandalised?
Some of them did fall on stony ground.
I don't think I did it quite as camp as I did it just
I was-
then.
What I
yeah.
like about it is it's got stony ground, which is obviously a reference to the parable of the sower, and sandals in it, which is obviously another Jesus thing.
I love that.
And Steve's Jewish, so got the big three right there.
I like Steve's secondary delivery of it, which was with the subtlety of a comic on the Seaside Special.
I
felt,
dream.
were you sandalised?
I dream of seeing a white van that has on the side of it Steve's secondary delivery and a phone number.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
953 is texted to say, still think Steve has a hot voice. I'm getting...
Steve, you can't read that about yourself.
Why not? Why not?
I think that's okay.
Do you?
I'm getting lots of praise in this little section of the show.
Yeah,
it's
hot
great.
voice. Not hot enough to cut through on the show to get a laugh from his sandwich.
That's quite a regular thing, though. Like,
Yeah,
because
right,
I do
sure
this.
is.
Because I do this every, a couple of shows a year.
You not getting a laugh is a regular thing.
I have to pray
Steve,
for.
you know why you're going to get that in the neck now? Because you said you had a hot voice. There's only one hot voice on this show.
And that's Emily.
That's the jazz singer next door. Maybe I could start an 0891 number. Have some sort of 0891 sidekick.
Yeah.
So you see how it's gone now?
I'm just trying to monetize my options.
Let me ask you, I'm guessing many of you, like me, have got over 40 photographs of Liza Minnelli in their glove compartment.
What?
I'm not even lying. I thought I'd clean out my glove compartment this week because
Good idea, Frank.
sometimes you can leave it. It really does gather clutter, and I've got over 40 photographs of Liza Minnelli in there.
You haven't.
I have.
Why? Well, you need to do it. I should just say, to go back to your earlier point, I always do it when there's a service imminent because it can be embarrassing. I had a service imminent and there were boxing gloves, a marabou frou-frou sort of cut-off jacket affair. There was all sorts in there. And
In the glove compartment?
No, this was in my boot. This was in my boot area. But what I'm saying,
boxing gloves in the glove compartment. That's quite an achievement.
Tom Farmer's boxing
It didn't
gloves.
say what kind of gloves.
Sorry, as you were there.
Yeah, I keep a falconry gauntlet in mind just for hand signals.
No, I'm talking about the junk in my trunk.
If I'm giving hand signals in Sherwood Forest, I keep one of those.
Tell me about your 40 photographs of Liza Minnelli.
Well, that was what was in there.
But why?
Well, I think in case I broke down.
What era?
What do you mean?
Well, you got to
era-
have somewhere to pass the time before the AA man
I
comes.
presume these are existing, like, famous photos of her, rather than you've not been doing some PI work.
No,
Just
these
trying
are
to catch out Minnelli.
These are just photos of on stage and
What, 10
stuff
by
like
8s or?
No, all sorts of different sizes.
Where did you get them from?
I think I was going to have her on my show a long time ago, and this was in the days where you didn't really go on the internet. You went and sent away for photos. And I kept these because I was a Liza Minnelli fan. Anyway, that's what's in there. There's a few Doctor Who CDs from Big Finish, which is like, audio dramas. And also there is a pair of spectacles, I think, in case one of my lenses was to come out on the motorway.
And you
yeah.
needed to look at Liza Minnelli urgently.
But these are spectacles, the prescription of which is, I would say, 10 years out of date. So that could be interesting drive home.
Yeah.
Sort of all right vision rather than good.
Yeah, not quite Mr. Magoo,
Not
but
Mr.
not ideal.
Magoo, but yes, not hawk-like. Luckily,
Yeah.
if I drive with the falconry gauntlet out the window, I'll probably get a hawk that'll see me at least to the next services. If you drove down the motorway with your arm sticking out with a falconry gauntlet on, would a bird land on it? 8, 12, 15.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, the whole glove compartment thing, I assume from the name they were designed for driving gloves. Would that be right? Do you remember driving gloves?
I would imagine. I've certainly seen. There's a certain
Yeah.
type of driver you imagine. So a sensible driver in some nice.
Quite a few. I think because a lot of the people I knew worked in factories and stuff. Not that I knew anyone with cars till I was about 25.
Yeah.
But they had rough and calloused hands. I think that they were to protect the steering wheel rather than to protect the... They had very rough
when
hands.
someone got a car, I think our Nora, didn't her boyfriend have a car and everyone came out to have a look?
We went out and had a look at it. Yeah. Second-hand Mini, we went out and had a look in amazement.
Which rather touchingly Frank did when I got a new car not long ago.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if people still do that. Go out and have a look at people's cars.
I liked it.
Well,
With a photo of them perched on the bonnet.
Yeah.
I bought a girlfriend once a car. And
Did you, Frank? That's generous.
new car, Mini.
Wow.
Did you phone up Nora? This isn't second-hand. This is original.
I parked it outside her house, and I'd bought an
that's
enormous
lovely.
length of ribbon and tied an enormous big bow around it. It was a birthday present. This was when I was in my
Frank.
golden years, when I had,
But I love that because it's
Sort of.
quite a footballer gesture.
yeah, now they'd be lucky to get a bit of Joe Malone. But
That's become the new Body Shop Joe Malone. I mean, I do like it, but come on, men, have some imagination.
Yeah.
what happened to Macaulay Culkin?
A mate of mine bought his sister and her husband a car and unveiled it on Christmas Day as a really amazing present. And his brother-in-law went, "Oh, this is going to be a nightmare to get insurance on this."
Oh, well, that's people. People, you hear me?
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So what happened with the Mini?
So, well, she drove it for many years. We went out for another couple of years, so I got got the odd drive.
Well, here's the question. What happened when you came to the end of the road, as it were?
I didn't take the Mini.
Oh, okay.
No. You can't just
How many miles did you look at the clock?
No.
We lasted 80,000 miles in this thing.
I think towards the end of every relationship, you find yourself looking at the clock. But no, I mean, it was fair. It was the spoils of war and the spoils of love.
And the spoilers of the Mini.
Yeah.
So I keep in my glove box or compartment?
Oh, compartment.
Okay.
Glove box?
All
Who
right.
calls it that? Are we across the pond? Is that where we are?
I think I say glove box.
Oh, don't.
Is that what the music festival Love Box? Is that just? Have I had an idiotic recommend? Is
Get
that
out.
just?
my.
Now get
No, but
out.
is that just based on Glove Box?
We got through the people had rougher hands then. I thought I was tense that Steve was going to say
There's
something.
how have I been? There's no rudeness there, is it? Is it not
Love
a pun
Box, I don't like the
that's a
sounds of
music
it.
festival.
I've been to Love Box, but I've never been to me.
I've been to Love Box many a time. Sometimes
we
with
don't.
gloves.
We don't want to know about those years.
No.
But no. Okay. Let's call the whole
Look, she
thing
got a
compartment.
Mini. Fair's fair.
Let's call it compartment, shall we?
Okay.
I feel on safer ground with compartment. I've been known to keep a bit of makeup.
Oh, you surprised me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But I kept a bronzer in a compact, and an ex-boyfriend of mine once looked in my glove compartment,
Oh, yeah.
and he was examining my glove compartment.
Not in your love compartment.
No.
That's worse than Love Box, then.
Sorry, paraprofessional. And the powder had scattered everywhere.
Oh,
The
yeah.
bronzer,
That is
the bronzer.
the worst
Oh, yeah,
excuse
yeah.
I have ever heard. Never mind that, madam. I'm still going to have to arrest you. Oh.
But I tend to keep sweet treats in there these
Oh,
days
do you?
for myself and Raymond, my dog. I think I may have mentioned this, Frank. I'll keep a pork scratching in there. I mean, not on its own, in a packet. You know when
Yeah.
you curl it all up at the top with an elastic band?
Oh, yeah.
And then I keep some milk drops for Ray, the Shih Tzu.
Okay.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
You see, I had a mate who used to keep like a sort of an emergency kit in the glove compartment, and it had like plasters, smelling salts, polo mints. He had,
Wow.
and he had a pair of women's tights in there, which I think worried all of
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
And it was the old fan belt, as a fan belt goes.
Oh,
That
right,
used to be the
that's-
standard thing.
Oh, yeah.
I thought there was going to be a very dark reveal that those items were taking us somewhere extremely
No,
sinister.
he was one of conjoined twin bank robbers.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Hall. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, email the show via the Absolute Radio website. What have you got in your glove compartment?
Carpenter Paul has texted
Carpenter Paul.
on the
Is that his phone book?
That is his
Entry.
handle. He on the subject of glove compartments, he says he keeps emergency tea bags in the glove compartment of his van just in case a customer makes weak, insipid tea.
Wow. So he can add another one.
Yeah.
Oh, I
And I bet he
assumed
has
he
this-
was going to chuck that original tea out and just start from scratch.
No, I think I've
think he'd-
often thought if someone gives you really weak tea, I wish I got another tea bag just to
he
give-
double bags it.
Yeah.
It's, and he's potentially crossing the streams of brewers. It could be
Yeah.
a Tetley's with a PG Tips.
Oh, yeah.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, I actually have a little sign on my car that says no tea bags are kept in this. What about if I get one that says no Liza Minnelli pictures kept in this car overnight?
I find builders drink coffee these days. My experience.
When you
They don't like a tea.
When you say to a builder, how do you like your tea? Does
Yeah.
he say, builders?
They like freshly ground coffee as well. Quite fussy, the builders now.
builders' coffee is
Oh, yeah,
much
they don't
more
do
upscale.
builders' coffee, yeah.
I imagine builders' coffee is very overpriced and not done all that well.
Oh, lovely. Frank.
Hey?
I must say, I'm
Hey?
very happy with my builders. I don't want to fall out with them. They
No, I
know
don't.
people. Oh, I tell you who we haven't discussed this morning. One of my favourites. Not one of your favourites, Frank. Daniela Craig.
Oh, yes, Daniel Craig.
Because I know you've had previous with him. Well, he stole your cleaner. There's no easy way of saying it.
He did steal my cleaner. Though I've got an update on that.
What?
Anyway, let's get on with the story.
I don't know if I can when I know this cleaner anecdote is resting there.
in case you're new to the show, my cleaner left me for Daniel Craig. He offered
It's
her
not
more.
quite Freddie Star Ate My Hamster, but it's up there.
He offered her more hours. This was after he moved in with
Rachel Edelweiss.
Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he led her away, and she'd
Wow.
been with me. She was with me before him, I
Sorry,
think.
did you say he led her away,
Well-
making it sound much more sinister than it was?
Well, I felt.
Did she say that's some more hours? Thank you. You've been very sympathetic to that. I've tried.
I know. I'm trying to think. If there's a share
It's all,
char.
I don't know,
Something's
but it's all
going
got
on.
a bit an audience with Bruce Forsyth.
That's, yeah.
What's the weirdest food
It went
that's ever
pretty
been
well
thrown
at
at
Wood
you?
Green Empire in 1954.
Didn't
Anyway,
everything.
she has now left him for a Helena Bonham Carter. So
Oh.
the biter bitten, eh?
I was going to say shut the front door, and she did behind her.
Yes,
Leave the
she did.
key. Did he say it like Bond? Leave the key there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he's taken on the new film. He wants her back. This is
She
an
was
elaborate
it's
ruse.
shaken but not vaxxed.
Hey, do you think... I like that. Do you think HBC upped the old price then? Well, we don't know, but I mean, she must have. This woman, do you think she just keeps getting better hours, more money?
I don't
imagine-
know what a cleaner she
I
is.
imagine Helena Bonham Carter's house is just covered in cobwebs as well.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to clean them off, though, obviously.
Yeah, she'd just say, just leave it as is. I've gone for the Miss Havisham look deliberately.
Yes. Well, anyway, I don't know the ins and outs, but it gave me a certain satisfaction
Yeah.
that he couldn't hold on to. 'Cause, I mean, I don't know. In the pecking order of stardom, where do DC and HBC, where do they?
Well,
Is
given
he-
that, all I would say is...
I mean, on the BBC, I think she gets 18 quid a week.
Well, the thing is, in the light of the news just in, which is that he signed up to be Bond again, having previously said he would rather slash his own wrists than play Bond again. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that. He's said to be getting in excess of £100 million, Mr. Bond.
Yeah.
If I were her, I'd be sticking with him, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm not saying she was motivated by money. I think she must have
I'm saying he is.
Yeah, well, take that back.
They offered him that much money. He said, I'm taking you to the cleaner.
There you go. You see, I knew we'd get a finisher.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We've been discussing Daniel Craig's U-turn, his
Yes.
volte-face. I can't imagine took anyone by massive
Volte-face,
surprise.
is that how you say it, or is it volte-face? It's volte-face.
Volfass, I believe.
I heard someone recently say volte-face, and that sounds like a villain from Marvel comics.
Yeah.
I think you should
Volte-face.
Yeah, he's got electric
delete them
teeth.
from your address book immediately.
If you're one of those people that buy bullion from daytime TV adverts, you know, we was talking about selling your gold last week. The other one is you can buy bullion. They use
Steve McQueen?
bullion and have it in my house, and they've got like proper little ingots you can buy. Do you remember when everyone used to wear ingots around their neck? Used to be a bit of a thing.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I miss the old identity bracelet. Paul Weller revived that briefly. You know the one I mean? A sort of great train robber
silver
chic.
chain thing.
My sister had one, what they call a charm bracelet.
Yeah,
that-
identity bracelet.
So they'd have... No, they're different things, aren't they? These had lucky charms on.
Oh, okay.
You used to get a tiny little metal box with a 10-bob note in it.
Oh, yes, I know those, Frank.
Yes, this is Absolute Radio. Not Radio Saga.
Anyway, so he had been so vehement about his refusal to step back into the shoes,
Yes.
Yes.
but then he, seemed that...
Turns out his word is not his bond.
Oh, well, come on!
I mean, money was definitely a Mr. Motivator here. Let's not beat around the Andy Bush.
I think that could be true.
Yeah.
It must be a nice job, though, hasn't it?
100 million. I just hope that, and if this were you, Frank, if you were in charge of the Eon franchise, I believe it's called, is it Barbara Broccoli?
Oh,
Yeah.
Eon.
It's called Eon, the company.
That's not the power company, is
No,
it?
it's EON, I think.
It sounds like a power company in Yorkshire.
Is it ION? But anyway, that's the company that owned Bond. And Barbara Broccoli runs it, I think, doesn't
What about
she?
the online trading company in Yorkshire? eBay.com.
Wouldn't you be tempted to do the negotiations in the manner of a Bond villain?
What, have the old cat on the lap and all that? Oh, sit down, Mr. Craig.
Not so fast, Mr. Craig.
He couldn't have a list of demands because it would be Craig's list.
I don't know what that means.
It's a website a little like Gumtree.
Oh, is it? I've
Yeah.
never heard of that.
But it's a slightly
Feel
sleazier one.
I'm so out of touch.
Yeah.
But he properly Stephen Redgraved it, because that's my favourite of the era of U-turns is Stephen Redgrave when he wins gold in '96, and they interview him as soon as he's arrived at the riverbank, and it was quite a nice BBC moment because he did a little swear because he was so tired, and the BBC always have to cut
Who
around
did,
that.
Daniela? Oh, no, Steve.
And so Mr. Redgrave said, "You have my permission if you ever see me near a boat again to shoot me." And then 4 years later, he wins gold in Sydney.
Would that have stood up in court? If I'd shot
Wow.
Sir Steve Redgrave.
Well, it's the other thing we constantly discuss is that it's only his second kill that he gets his licence, Daniela. Well, we should say the character. So he's a murderer for the first kill, isn't he?
Does he have to kill two to get a licence?
Yeah, he's got to get a second kill.
I didn't know that.
So he's a murderer for a large portion of time. He's just a very bad man.
That's a legal loophole I was never aware of.
He said, of course, he would rather slash his wrists than play Bond. Again.
Yeah. He then said he was very tired.
He
was T&E.
He's an enthusiastic self-harmer. I think that sort of sets the whole thing in context.
You know what actors are like.
That's why my cleaner. It's just from one goth to the next. No, it's. I think it might be the money, but I'm sort of glad. Aren't you? He's good. I think he's a good Bond.
He's more than good.
I really like him. I even like him as the Stormtrooper cameo in Star
He's a
Wars that
proper
he has.
actor.
Oh,
Also,
yeah, I forgot about
the
that.
other thing is, we should say, in fairness to him, I know he's getting a lot of money, but to put that in context, did you read that it became Skyfall was the highest grossing film in the UK, wasn't it? And until The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So, he's giving them the money back,
Yeah.
Frank.
Well,
I
he
know,
got
but I can't help thinking of Claire Baldwin at home saying, What next? What next?
Because the product placement was, I think Heineken paid £45 million for the product placement in the previous film, where he just drinks one beer, and everyone in the cinema laughed at how awkward that product placement was. So if he's
the
It was a bit
frustrating
like when-
thing is that you've just plugged Heineken for nothing.
We could have got,
other beers are available.
Yes, unfortunately, and that's what's ruining society.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
So, Daniel Craig
8, 12, 15.
says he longs for the day that he can walk into a pub and someone just says, "Oh, that's Daniel Craig," and leaves him alone. How do you feel about that?
I long for that day as well when they see
you long for the day you can walk into a pub?
When they see Daniel Craig. That'll never happen, ever.
Do you think not?
No, not now he's been James Bond. No, that can never happen. He lived to be 1,000.
Are you suggesting it's a case of too late now, your face is on the tea towel?
I think,
as I believe Diana's sister said to her.
And that's generally part of the receiving 120 million quid for doing a film.
Yes, I think
deal.
so. You can't just get 120 million quid for 93 minutes
jealous
of entertainment.
guys. Jealous much, you two.
I'd have turned it down.
Imagine if Frank was James Bond.
Well, that would be a different thing, wouldn't it, altogether? Different show. I'll tell you what
Different show?
The last time I watched James Bond,
show?
I'm getting less and less tolerant of snogging in films.
You better not watch James Bond anymore.
I know, and that bit where a gown slips off a pair of shoulders. I mean, embarrassing.
And there's always a slightly over-gymmed hand on the small of the back. Hand on the small of the back.
There is something. Is there anything more embarrassing than the ladies' man? It's just.
Well,
the whole concept of seduction is an embarrassing thing.
Yeah.
I think it's also when you get to a certain age. Do you, maybe? Maybe it's a kind of young man's pastime. Really?
No, I don't think I ever have. The gown slipping off the shoulders. I mean, come on.
They've managed to kind of revitalise the films in terms of the action and the suspense. The recent Bond films have been really exciting, but they haven't managed to do the love scenes at all. They're still as awkward and corny, kind of, oh, James.
Yeah.
Well, there's still the tuxedo on the back of the chair. You know,
I think the thing there is they're strong women before their gown slips off their shoulder.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Yeah, but it's like someone's redone the milk tray adverts. They've still got that.
Yeah, still like that. Still absolutely.
Yeah.
Won't you come back? Oh,
Get off. Say, won't you come back?
I'm supposed to be spying, not snogging. And now they play hard to get for about between 12 and 14 minutes.
Well, the lady does.
There's three things. There's extreme entrail displaying violence.
Yeah.
Any sort of seduction scene.
Yeah.
And, of course, the thing that absolutely I can't watch because it gives me genuine stomach pain.
What's that?
And that's searching through someone's drawers, and while we know that the person is about to come back
and
in.
then, right, when you see the flashlight outside,
what about when you see their outline through the frosted glass office window, and they're still in the drawers.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not exaggerating. My stomach is tensing up. No.
Well, I associate...
It's pretty flat as it is.
I really strongly associate someone arriving home in that way. I associate that with closing every window on my laptop as quickly as possible. That's part of that. I feel like a spy. Yeah. I feel like a James Bond of loneliness.
That doesn't happen, Inspector.
Oh,
it does. It's in the deleted scenes.
I'm starting to.
It's in Quantum of Solace.
I'm starting to look forward to the gown slipping off the shoulder.
Oh, Mr. Bond, you should have deleted all history.
Yeah, because he does delete all history. Because whenever he meets, when they have the crossover, and somebody says, "Oh, Mr. Bond, you look completely different from what you did the last time I saw you, Mr. Bond. How did that happen, Mr. Bond?
That'd be great if Bond regenerated.
Mr. Bond, you're like a bit blonde. You used to be like a little
Mr. Bond, you keep changing. I've misjudged you, it seems, Mr. Bond.
He should regenerate like the Doctor.
Well, he basically does regenerate like Doctor Who, but never mentions it. No one brings it up.
Frank, it's more like Miss Ellie in Dallas, when an entirely new character just appears one week.
I think the Doctor hangs around with people who are a bit more straight-talking. With Bond, it all goes on behind his back. They go, "Oh, hello, James, good to see you again." He's completely changed again. I know he's changed again.
Is it Lazenby says, doesn't his Bond say something like, "This never happened to the other fella"? Is that a line in his one?
I think it is.
Do you think the Bond villains say behind his back, "This is nothing personal, Mr. Bond. He cannot fit into his suits anymore. He's so big, his thighs, like Will Carling."
He's getting on a bit. He needs a younger model, maybe a black guy to revitalise the franchise.
I'm not moving on from there.
Frank
Skinner
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If Daniel Craig, there isn't a big fuss about the money he's getting, is there? Not like, the the other week when it was like Gary Lineker and...
You're suggesting it ain't about the bubbling?
No, but then no one seems bothered that he's getting 100 million quid.
Yeah, well, it's not the BBC, so there's no point in the tabloids giving it a kicking.
I suppose so. Is it... He's getting paid 100 million for pretending that's what he does for a living. A benefit cheat.
There we go.
That's a similar thing.
He doesn't get 100 million, though.
No, exactly. But everyone complains about that. They're all right with Craig getting 100 million. That's what's gone wrong with this country of ours.
We need to see Daniel Craig and Jeremy Kyle being confronted.
Oh, he's all right, Craigie. He's done a good job.
I think he's fabulous, I have to say.
He's properly... I think he's an incredibly beautiful man.
Oh, here we go. What do you mean? Why do people have to say stuff like that, trying to prove that they're all politically correct?
Why is that politically correct?
It's all right saying, oh, yeah, I can embrace both sides. It's a bloke. You're a heterosexual. You got 2 kids.
Oh, Frank, let the modern world in.
No,
Stop it, those kids. Come here, let's have a hug.
I don't mind
Kiss
the modern
me.
world
Kiss
coming
me
in.
now.
But I'm still going through the drawers.
He just
And here it
sometimes...
comes.
He likes to clank up the portcullis occasionally, don't you, darling?
Yes, I do, just for security reasons.
Yeah, I understand.
But, I don't blame him for having a vault face or even having a vault face. I don't mind. I don't blame him for that.
Oh, Frankenstein monster.
If he had gold fillings, would he have a vault face?
Yeah.
What's your most significant U-turn, other than presumably in Nora's new second-hand Mini?
Well, I know. I was too young to drive that. I had a vault face with Elton John. What a night that was.
What happened?
Because I never really rated Elton John. Then we went to see him live. Do you remember we went to an Absolute Radio?
Yeah.
Turns out he's a really good singer and very good at playing the piano.
He was really good.
Who? No.
Yeah.
He was great, though.
I had a
He used
vault...
to live next door to me. He loves the blues. No, so that was it. I thought, you know what? He's actually a talented bloke, Elton John.
Yeah?
Late review.
Yeah?
Also, I did say in my autobiography that if ever you hear me saying I'm passionate about radio, it means my career is in ruins.
That's true.
Which
I remember that.
There is some truth in that juxtaposition, but I am now, I think I can say, passionate about radio.
Lovely.
In fact, I can feel radio's gown slipping off its shoulders as I say that. What about you guys?
Well, I had a Voltfass re Tom Jones, who he was on my bucket list
Of
people I'd like to go on a date with.
Yes, let's see.
Yeah, let's keep it nice.
Beautiful breakfast radio version.
And then I'm afraid when he went
have
au
you cleaned
naturel.
up the phrase bucket?
Yeah.
Let's have a pause there, shall we? Let some of our people work it out, and some just text in and complain.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So we were midway through talking, I believe, Emily.
Oh, yes, when I did my Voltfass over Tom Jones.
Yes, so you he was on your
It's
list.
quite an anecdote.
Yeah.
I'm afraid...
I didn't know you were into gymnastics.
As I said, it was quite a night.
Yeah.
He fell off my list, and I'm not proud of admitting this, but it was, I'm afraid, when he went au naturel on the hair
I
front.
knew it was going to be there.
Now, I will hold my hands up. I have some greys coming through. I helped myself out on the hair front, but I have one of London's leading hairdressers at my disposal.
Do you?
He decided... George Northwood, thank you. He decided to go au naturel, which is great. Good luck to him. Didn't like it. I thought he looked like one of those, those troll dolls.
Oh,
You know that they have, you have as a lucky sort of, I think they call them gaunches, don't
Yes,
they, in
yeah,
exams.
yeah.
People would have them on their desks. And it was all this wiry white hair and...
Yeah, it was good. I thought that when Tom Jones went grey, it looked like low-lying cloud on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's very true. A little bit Beethoven. And I thought, he looked fine and I respected him, didn't fancy him.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
So when's your prime era Jones? Which would you prefer? Or is it just that if he puts the just for men?
Oh, I see. I liked him in the 70s, obviously, with the sports car and the chunky jewellery and the flair over a slightly big Cuban heel.
It's just for men, just for men. What happens if women use just for men?
Shall I do it?
Yeah.
Shall I do an experiment
The fabric
and
of
find
reality is torn apart.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound right to me. It just makes your grey hair go dark. It's hair dye. Well, how can it be just for men?
Well, I'm going to try it. What could possibly go wrong?
Of course, we didn't know then.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.
Steve, what about your vault fasces?
My vault fasces. It's interesting that music is often one of them. That I fairly recently, having never really liked Led Zeppelin, listened to When the Levee Breaks and had a real Road to Zeppelin conversion where I suddenly thought, well, this is absolutely amazing.
That's lovely when that happens. I had that with aubergines. I always thought
we all did.
I always thought that aubergines. That what put me off them was they look like those blisters you get on your inside lip when you bite it.
Do you know they've
Look,
got
a really big version of one of those.
They've got real aesthetic issues. Aubergine.
Yeah.
I
Too
said it
purple.
aubergine.
Yeah.
Silent S.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like having a night of passion with Barney the dinosaur. But now I'm honestly getting this. I've had 4 aubergines this week.
4?
I've had 4.
It will take me a year to get through one. They're big old beasts.
No, I have one in a sitting. I had
do you eat them?
I had 2 for me. Well, not for the whole dinner, but my dinner yesterday included 2 aubergines.
Do you like? What do you like? Zucchini or aubergine? Sorry, courgette.
I don't know. Courgette. No, courgette's a completely different animal.
Okay, don't look so irritated.
Je ne courgette rien.
I'm talking.
Is that a meal in itself then, an aubergine you're
do you
suggesting?
think you mentioning Led Zeppelin reminded me of Deep Purple, and that's how I got to aubergine in my trail of thoughts. It's always interesting to retrace these things. No, honestly, I've got aubergine problems at the moment. I can't leave them alone.
99 problems.
What about
and an
Michael
aubergine ain't one.
Michael Jackson wrote a song about them. Aubergine.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Hall. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
Now, we've been discussing Daniel Craig's U-turn on playing Bond. And we've got a text from Stefan in Nottingham who says, "Hi Frank, I have a theory regarding James Bond actors. If you can name another movie the actor has been in other than Bond movies, then they are famous. If not, they are James Bond famous. So Daniel Craig needs to be thankful he's not the next Doctor Who right now."
Why?
So I think Stefan is implying that we would struggle to name a non-Bond film that Daniel Craig is in. I can actually think of a few.
I can name loads.
So,
Enduring Love, he was lovely in that.
I wouldn't have known any he was in.
Layer Cake is the
Oh,
one I
hold
know.
on.
I'll tell you what he was in. What about
Cowboys and Aliens?
Yes.
Come on.
Daniel Craig, you are famous.
He had a terrible faux beard in Our Friends in the North, which
Yes,
was
indeed,
a TV
yes.
series.
I think
Google
the theory,
it, children.
it's certainly a true theory that Timothy Dalton, I could not tell you another film he's been in, or George Lazenby for that matter.
No.
I wouldn't know it.
Well, I know he was the Big Fry man. There's an advert for Big Fry, which was saying that Fry's chocolate bars had got bigger, and they had him carrying these enormous chocolate bars, and that was how he got spotted, I think. for
Oh,
the part.
really?
I'm surprised Stephen hasn't got that work now.
Well, those
Be a
were the
nice gig
days.
for him.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Stephen Fry. He could have that gig.
Oh.
Yeah,
Big Fry?
yeah,
He could be called Big Fry.
exactly.
It's a good point, that, though.
But it got me thinking, I was trying
The
to think
Hill.
what-
Yeah.
Sean Connery was in a film called The Hill when he didn't wear his toupee.
Well, he was in so many, Frank.
And
I
it
mean,
just-
I think Sean, in fairness, established
The
himself.
Untouchables. I think that was the first
Yes.
thing I saw him in, possibly even before Bond, even.
Okay. Anyway,
Daniel, have you seen the trailer?
This is people talking in the pub now.
Have you
Yeah.
seen the trailer for Daniel Craig's new film? He's in a film called Logan Lucky, and he sports a broad, deep South accent. and he sort of sounds like Cletus in The Simpsons, where he's obviously enjoying himself, but it's probably like, I'm gonna rob a bank.
No.
It's a treat that
Sounds
awaits
like
you.
Al Gore. Frank Skinner interviewed him. You can download it on Absolute Radio. Absolutely marvellous, may I just say.
Thank you so much.
I absolutely loved it. And I've got a bit of a crush now on Al Gore, Frank.
On audio basis.
I think it was the Tommy...
He's grey.
You know what it is? Yeah, but I'll let that go. He's a set, he's Al. Big Al. It was the fact that it was the Tommy Lee Jones way he pronounced that very southern wheel. Oh, it did something to me.
You know, Tommy Lee Jones was his roommate at college.
You gave me that intel. I loved it. Anyway, we need to discuss the Great Pineapple Ban.
Obviously.
Yeah. In all these festivals for the young people, Sarah on the show probably goes to them.
Now, before we go into it, can I mention that someone was talking to me about they'd been to a festival, right? And they were people...
How old were they?
I wouldn't say they were my age, but they were in their...
Sort of David Baddiel era?
Late 40s, early 50s. And they were talking about being... And they said... and the great thing is, the young people who are there, teenagers, they're not at all judgmental about people our age being, at a festival. And I said, I've got to stop you there. They might not be, but I am. And I said, and these were people I didn't know terribly well, to be honest, but I said, I've got to tell you, I find it very squirm-making when middle-aged people talk about being at festivals.
Why?
I don't know why, but they're always... just thinking about it now. Look, I'm folding... when you fold your arms a bit too much because you're a bit... They're always somewhere I've never heard of. They say, oh, yeah, we went to Clampdown at the weekend. Oh, did you? Yeah. We're going to Reticence. Oh, yeah. So we went to Reticence. The Lighthouse family were absolutely amazing. Please. If you're going to go, wear an Elephant Man Hessian head cover and don't tell anyone. But really, middle-aged people at festival... I'm sorry, I know it's bigotry. I'm not justifying it, but it makes me feel physically nauseous.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We've had a text saying Timothy Dalton was in Flash Gordon and Hot Fuzz, therefore he is famous. And that's from Timothy Dalton.
They've all been in films, just that we don't know them, do we? It's what I call, my 9 items or less stars.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I think most of them fall into that.
Yeah. Well, Piers Brosnan is in The Last Good Friday as second Irishman.
No, but he's
I've
in
got 9 items or less,
Mamma
Frank.
Mia.
Yes, well, that's a big one, isn't it?
All right, blokes in the pub, can I just add my contribution? I've got 9 items or less offering.
Go on.
Rita Ora. What's
Yes.
the song she's ever done?
I can't name any.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't name any.
what does this woman do? Lovely looking, won't deny.
Looks right, nice skin.
Looks
Unblemished.
That's
Basically
enough.
unblemished.
That's enough these days.
Oh, I'll say.
Now,
Plenty.
re the festivals. So, Frank, you were saying you just think young people...
I think they're for young people.
Yeah.
A man I know who is older than me said, did you see any of the Glastonbury coverage?
Older than me.
And
Who was this?
I said no, which was a lie. Because I thought it was a trap to try to humiliate me. I said, no, I didn't. I'd actually watched a bit, but I wasn't going to tell anybody. And then he started to talk brazenly about the fact he'd been watching it.
Wow. You meant to, what goes on tour stays on tour.
What was he
Exactly.
saying? Was he saying there were some great tracks?
Yeah. He was saying yes.
Frank,
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, I realised I'm getting old because the band who the Pineapple Band relates to, I know virtually nothing about.
The Glass Animals.
Glass
Well,
Animals.
have we
And then-
explained what this is, the Pineapple Band? We should explain.
Yes,
Would you
we
care
should.
to explain it, Steve?
So they have a song called Pork Soda, and it features the line "Pineapples are in my head" repeatedly through
This
the
is
song.
a band called Glass Animals.
And
Is it based on? Is it a pun on the Glass Menagerie, the play?
Well,
it could well be.
it could be, but I'm worrying about features the line "Pineapples are in my head." Is that? I don't know if that's a connection to things that might have happened in the past.
No, apparently he overheard someone say it in the street. and
What,
that's-
pineapples are in my
Yeah,
head?
yeah, and he thinks, and then he loved it, but then thought maybe I've misheard.
Yes.
But it just
The
stayed
point
in his
is
head.
they've
tell you
now
what
banned them.
I'll tell you what it could have been. I don't know, but I know that there is a shop called Pineapples R Us in Minehead, and somebody he said, "Do you know where I can get some Pineapples R Us in Minehead?" He heard that,
Yeah.
and it's
I like-
thrown him.
So they've banned it essentially
Because their fans kept on bringing
So they
pineapple-related things.
hold them up during the song.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a certain sympathy with this band, can I say? Because I think
I just swallowed really loudly. Sorry.
if I was going to be attacked with any fruit, I think pineapple would be high on the list. I wouldn't want it to be.
Sure, yeah.
They're
They
sharp.
are.
Yeah.
They are sharp.
Absolutely.
They are. You can hardly. I mean, even if you pick them up in a supermarket, well, you need tongs.
Yeah. Well,
They're rough, sharp, and old.
Yeah.
They don't
Thank
want to
you.
be eaten.
How dare
Can
you?
we just accept they do not want to be
They've
eaten?
got
pineapples.
defences.
Everything about them says don't
Yeah,
eat
yeah.
me.
And I sympathise with the band because the song is called Pork Soda. So if they've been
I don't like the
pelted,
sound
if they've
of
been
that either.
I
pelted
don't.
with pineapples, that's one thing. But pork soda, it could be a can of lilt wrapped in some bacon in honour of pork soda. So there are worse things their fan could throw.
Well, this is all. I mean, John Tradescent must be rolling in his grave. Now, I used to live by Lambeth Bridge on the River Thames, and on each corner of that bridge there is a pineapple. And I believe that's because the grave of John Tradescent, who's a man who brought pineapples to England, is very near. Well, I
Oh,
know his
really?
grave's there. I went to see it. And buried him in chunks, which I thought was very bad taste. But it's true. Yeah, he brought them over.
Wow.
So, you know,
Syrup?
it's his bad.
I'm
Was
gonna
he
smuggle
buried
some-
with syrup?
Please don't in the topical stories.
God.
You
Oh,
cannot
God.
ask me that question.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
We were just discussing the controversial pineapple ban.
Yes.
So which festival is? we're
It's
talking
Reading
about?
and Leeds.
So you cannot take a pine. You couldn't take in a tin of pineapple chunks.
No.
Yeah, I believe it's a blanket ban.
Okay.
So I'm actually doing the comedy stage at Reading, so I'm tempted to maybe try and bring in a Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
Well, that might
See
do
if
it.
I can smuggle it in.
Can I ask? Have you ever tried to eat an entire pineapple in one go?
Good heavens, no. Far too acidic.
There's something that it does to your mouth. I can't quite explain. If anyone knows, anyone who's into fruit science,
Extraordinary shout out.
I'm a fruit scientist.
Has any other DJ ever
may-
done that shout out? Anyone into fruit science out there?
perhaps not. You heard it here first. But you know when you have Coke sometimes, Coca-Cola,
Thank you.
and it does that, your teeth feel like chalk. There's a very similar thing that happens to your mouth, the roof of your mouth with pineapple.
Frank, as you're discussing it, I'm getting the sensation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Are you
absolutely.
getting
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
Can I ask
I wonder if the
actually,
readers
on
at
that-
home
on
are
that-
getting it.
On that point, why is it called the roof of your mouth? Surely it should be the ceiling.
Yeah, that's it.
The roof is the
Maybe that's-
upper top.
Maybe that's it. When a pineapple
Roof is
celebrates
the
how
head.
delicious it is, it goes, I took the roof off.
No, but they didn't. They took the ceiling off. It should be the ceiling of my mouth. My
Yeah.
mouth ceiling.
Yeah. You
But then
tell them,
may-
Frank.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
there's
tell 'em, boss.
maybe there's confusion because the ceiling of your mouth could be just when you close your mouth.
Oh, well. They'll soon get used to it.
Look, can we get down to the bare bones there? Are these people just strung out? Why are they dancing around with pineapples
Yeah.
anyway?
Have you brought props to bands or?
Never.
I've never heard of bringing props.
No.
I mean, Rocky Horror Show
Yeah.
used to take
There's
rice. and
there's an
stuff.
Australian band I really like called Weddings, Parties, Anything, and they had a line in one of their songs that was "I'm 10 cents short of $1." And they had to start playing it really early in the set because their fans would be so drunk that they would violently throw 10-cent pieces at them. And on all their YouTube clips, there's this shower of coins, and it's a really beautiful song. They basically had to stop singing it because
It's not a bad little earner.
Well, also, you know what, Frank? What a lovely little insult. Shower of coins. I'm going to start saying that. It's a good collective insult.
I'm going to start saying the ceiling of my mouth.
Is that like the
my
windmills
mouth-
of your mind?
My mouth ceiling. I took the skin off my mouth ceiling. I might get a small lamp fitting to hang. I'll get my roof of my mouth, now ceiling of my mouth, get it pierced and get a small light bulb.
And then, Frank, will you use is it the uvulva at the back? What is it called?
Out.
Uvula.
Uvula. The uvula as the light switch.
Yeah.
So turn it off and on.
We'll have to it will no longer be the uvula, it'll be the mouth chandelier.
Lovely. Oh, I like that.
There's something I don't like about that. I'm not sure.
Why?
I
You don't
know,
like old people at festivals? You don't like the inner workings of the mouth?
I don't like oral fixtures and fittings, generally speaking. I went to the Clash once at the Hummingbird in Birmingham, Dale End. And there was a guy with me who had, remember people who used to wear padlock chains around their neck?
Oh, yes.
And the bouncer said, you can't come in with that on, mate. And he hadn't got the key.
Oh.
So he couldn't get in. But I've never heard of taking a prop because of a song lyric. And is there any other example?
I was trying to think of props. I know of people who've done, dances. There were certainly even with fairly obscure indie bands, they would have there was a band called Madder Rose that John Peel absolutely loved. And there was a special dance for their main song. You had to pretend that you were swimming, but it was quite bleak because there would be 7 people who knew
No,
it.
I can the dances. Yeah, I can see that one. I remember.
Well, Agadoo, Push Pineapple, Shake the Tree. That was the last time the pineapple.
Can't do that. That won't be doing that at Reading.
And apparently the singer from Agadoo was detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, and he had to do it across the prison courtyard. The inmates
How long
joined
did
him.
he Agadoo?
Oh, lovely.
I remember I got to a point in the 70s where I could do YMCA in a joined up writing.
Oh, lovely.
That's a real advance.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We've had quite a few responses on the taking props to see musicians and bands. 265 has said, whenever Mark Almond appears at the Rewind Festival, the festival goers take inflatable pink flamingos as a reference to say hello, wave goodbye, and they wave them in the air, and it looks amazing.
Lovely.
Oh, that's good.
That's really great. And apparently,
Just hearing you name check a festival gave me a slight shudder. What's it called, that one?
was it the Rewind Festival?
Oh,
yes.
for goodness sake.
And
Oh, for
apparently,
goodness sake.
Kate Nash's fans throw lemons.
Joking.
Because there's a song, it's in Fingertips, I think it's the song. No, Foundations. And they say,
Oh, I know that one, the cracks in our
You
foundations.
say, I must eat so many lemons because I am so bitter.
Well, I don't know what next. What about ups upside your head? The rowing.
Oh, I love that one.
I think that's why we've done so well in the rowing in the Olympics.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I bet you Steve Redgrave would never have thought of rowing until he went to a disco in his youth. Went on the rowing thing. Honestly, I think it got people into rowing.
Do you think he did it at a wedding? And then afterwards he said, if I ever row at a wedding again, you've my permission to shoot me.
Yeah.
I do. I think rowing and same-sex relationships were brought about largely by ups upside your head. And
We've
you
also
heard it
had,
here first.
We've had an explanation for the pineapple sensation, Frank.
Oh, the thing on the ceiling of your mouth.
A number of people have been in touch about that. Karen H. I didn't mean to sigh with such world weariness there. Karen H. says pineapple has an enzyme that dissolves proteins, and the tissues of your mouth are mostly made from protein.
Wow, it's dissolving you.
Yeah.
I tell you, it doesn't want to be eaten.
yeah.
It's incredibly spiky and coarse, and then it dissolves your mouth when you eat it.
Yeah.
What about when you swallow it? I find most of me is made of protein.
We've all been spiky and coarse in our youth. Before my 2.0-ness, I was spiky and coarse.
Well, I'm still capable of both. But really, that sounds horrible.
That's a pretty powerful
Review of pineapples,
defense.
everyone. Horrible.
Pineapple enzyme. Oh, I got pineapple enzyme.
The enzyme is called bromelain. So I don't know if there's a West Brom reference there, or if that's what if it's actually called that.
The next time I have to use a false name when I check into a hotel, I'm going to call myself Pineapple Enzyme.
Yeah.
I reckon I'll get away with it.
It's a lost Captain Beefheart tune.
Captain Beefheart. I'll tell you what I thought. When you said someone had heard in the street someone saying pineapples in my head.
Sure.
What's the frequency, Kenneth, the REM song?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't that was a mate of his who got beat up or something, and the chap kept shouting.
Keep it like everyone.
What's the frequency?
It was the news. It was someone like Dan Rather, one of the famous American news presenters, who got attacked by someone, and the person who attacked him was repeatedly shouting, "What's the frequency, Kenneth?"
Brilliant. Well, not brilliant that he attacked him.
No, I mean...
I like those, where did that song lyric come from? But we won't get into that.
No.
Otherwise, it's going to start sounding like a radio show. And it'll be, what about some songs with colours in the title?
Oh.
And then
Misheard lyrics.
I just
misheard lyrics. No one ever... No.
I would happily listen to half an hour of you just naming festival names from your nightmares.
Well, you probably will after this show.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We've had a couple of communications from the readers. Alex has texted on the subject of props. He said, I bought a massive bouquet of white gladioli to Morrissey's gig.
Oh, yeah, to
Morrissey.
At his when he did Meltdown in 2004.
Meltdown.
And he said he was then required to leave the flowers at the cloakroom. He wasn't allowed to bring them into the gig.
Morrissey in Temperamental Shock.
Didn't Morrissey do Brimless as well that year? You know that festival?
Well, we've also had an email from last week, Frank. You were talking about paper boys in America.
Why is it always less? Why is it always lacking in the festivals? Sorry, carry on.
Go on.
And Neil from Connecticut has responded.
My thing was, in films, when you see paper boys delivering papers in America, they just chuck them in people's gardens, and they don't get off and put them to the letterbox. And I said, is that real? So, and meanwhile...
So he's replied, Dear Frank, following your request to clarify if newspapers are thrown on the lawn by paper boys in the States, I can advise in the area I live, Connecticut, papers are placed in a special delivery box next to the mailbox by the side of the road. In films, it always seems to be warm and sunny, so maybe it happens somewhere like California. The lawn method would not work during a New England winter, as we would not find the papers until the snow had melted in the spring.
Well, that makes sense. How lovely to hear from Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's lovely,
Frank.
Frank.
I think of a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
Yeah. Danny Kaye.
Mark Twain, I was thinking, but Danny Kaye was in the film. Yeah,
thank you.
I think Mark Twain should get the top listing, top billing.
Well, that's true. I'll give you that.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Can I plug something? I don't plug stuff on here, but I'm doing a gig, a charity gig, on the 18th of September at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and I'm hosting it. I have no material, and I have to find... So I think it's good watching famous people struggle. I saw Bob Hope once after he had some sort of mental blockout, and he was endlessly entertaining. So it'd be like that. Michael McIntyre's on, and Harry Hill, and loads.
What's the gig?
It's for young minds, which is mental illness in young people.
We'll put it up on the Twitters.
Yeah,
as well.
I come to it because any help I
heads
can
together,
get.
isn't it?
Catherine Ryan and Jimmy Carr, and anyway, lots of people. I don't normally do that, but it's charity.
Yeah.
Is this a one-off? Are you gigging? Gigging at the moment?
We're not in a pub, Steve.
No gigging. It's just I'm going to walk on completely cold, but I will have some. We'll see how it goes.
Oh well,
it's for charity.
Splendid. We've had one more communication about pineapples from Giles, who said that it's correct about it dissolving protein, and that some pineapple workers can end up without fingerprints.
That's handy.
So we could be onto the perfect crime.
That would have been handy for
pineapple bank job.
Carlos the Jackal.
What about
Well, he just would have found that useful. He always needed to take on a new... He was on the run, wasn't he?
Is he
Yeah,
died, didn't he,
Yeah, I
Carlos the
believe
Jackal?
so. Well, when he was alive.
I thought so with his family.
This
Never
could
get
be-
much of a mention, the Jackals. I went for Christmas at the Jackals this year. How was that? Yeah, that's all right. We had the darts. We had a game of darts there. You can't beat them. They're absolutely amazing. I'm going to write a sitcom, a one-off called
Jackals.
Christmas with the Jackals, when I go around Carlos the Jackal's house with his family. Steve the Jackal, Sue the Jackal.
Oh, I'd love some good sitcom music with that.
Oh, man.
Rounds of applause.
Here's
as
the
character walks in.
Jackals. Way, Carlos.
There should be a song, shouldn't there? But not mentioning the Jackals. Just, you know, American sitcoms have songs that say, "Hey, we're family and we love each other," and then it comes up, Christmas with the Jackals. Thank you so much for listening. You know what? I've been watching, the news is on while watching this. I completely forgot that Bruce Forsyth had a moustache. That would have been a good texting. Celebrities you've forgotten have got a moustache. Anyway, I never used to say moustache until I lived with David, but I used to say moustache, and that's one of the many things he taught me. Thank you so much for listening this morning, and bring on Vic Feather.
You're listening to the Frank Skinner podcast from Absolute Radio. Want your Frank fix a little sooner? Listen live every Saturday from 8 a.m. on Absolute Radio. Across the UK on digital radio, mobile apps, and in London and the South East on 105.8 FM.
Absolute Radio.